Hey guys, thank you for joining us again. This is the Blueprint Podcast where we talk to local entrepreneurs in the area. Our location is right here in the Woodlands, Texas, and that's our home. This series is based upon entrepreneurs and their successes and their pitfalls along the way. I want to reiterate this. This is supposed to be done in an informational setting and one that is supposed to be somewhat entertaining. At no point, and I'll just ask you guys, we didn't pay you guys to come on for anything. Is that correct? Is this all pro? Or maybe
that $100 bill you gave.
$100. So like I say, we're going to joke around a little bit. We're going to try to make this as fun, entertaining, and educational as much as possible. And our special guest today is Ray Larson with the Ray Larson Group and Marco Brito. So guys, with all being said, I'm going to ask you guys a plethora of questions, and we're going to maybe start off with what was your first step into real estate, and what really inspired the two of you?
Well, I had a previous job that kind of went out of existence, and in order to stay in the industry I was in, I had to transfer out of this area.
Okay.
We had been in this area for 5 years, lived in the Woodlands.
Yeah.
Children were born here, and I didn't want to go.
I understand.
So I had to change careers, and real estate, I have always been infatuated with real estate,
yep.
As a lot of people are. And we were very cemented in the community, knew a lot of people. So for me, it was just an easy, logical move to make.
Understood. Marco, how about yourself? What inspired you to get into real estate?
Well, so in college, I graduated college back in 2001. It's been over 20 years. So
okay.
I worked straight retail right out of college, actually during college as well.
Okay.
And so I learned my sales experience, or I gained sales experience from that time. And in 2006, I just decided, you know what, this is not what I want to do something different.
Uh-huh.
Actually took time to myself, just like kind of semi-retirement.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of colleagues and other friends who were telling me, hey, you should get into real estate. I didn't know at the time that this was about 2006. I didn't know at the time 2 years was going to be a little crash, but it doesn't. I got in with them in
2006. Huh? So we're coming up on 20 years now, huh?
20 years.
How does that make you feel?
Oh no, old.
And he hasn't changed a bit.
No, the pictures are still the same.
Yeah.
I could have saved on the pictures, but I haven't. I'm keeping
you still
them up
got all
to
your
date.
hair. You're looking
Just
good.
The crow's feet. It's all right, but no, that's how I got started in real estate. It's been fun. It's been fun since.
Yeah. That's a great story. So, like all entrepreneurs, we know that you'll have your ups and you have your downs. Okay, that's associated with that. Can either of you tell me a pivotal moment when things maybe weren't looking so great, and the odds were stacked against you, and what actually pushed y'all to get over that threshold and persevere?
As I was mentioning before, that I think that 2008 crash that we had with the market, I was brand new. So I didn't know, for me, that was normal. I was like, is this going to happen? Is this going to occur all the time?
Yeah.
And so I persevered, though. I kept on pushing through and just going about my business, learning new, learning the market, learning about foreclosure, short sales. At the time, that was very big. Yeah. And so that's what I believe that's what I did. I kind of pivoted.
Yeah.
And decided I had to do this to keep going.
Yeah. Well, we started at the same time.
Correct.
We didn't know any better.
Yeah.
I mean, we thought that might be the way the market is. Right?
Yeah. So what we're talking about, people, is the mortgage-backed security crisis that happened, the credit default swaps and all that kind of stuff, the CDO obligations. And so y'all started in 2006 on that. Yep. 2008, the crash was here. So obviously y'all didn't have a lot of experience. Were there any, if you went back and look at it now, were there any indicators maybe that you go, or you just were just a little too wet behind the ears at that time?
Exactly. It just me. I was way too. Now
you can see it though, right?
Oh, correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if something like this were to happen down the road, you can kind of plan for it and provide that guidance.
Yeah.
And see, I think that a lot of people, when they go through these things, I mean, those were valuable lessons that you learned along the way, right? That experience now will just carry with you. You'll never forget that time.
No, and you that's how you learn, and that's how you get better, by mistakes and going through hard times.
Absolutely.
You learn to tweak.
That's right. I always like to say you got to kind of almost be chameleon-like, right?
Yes.
In a sense, you can't be married to one specific idea, right? Because ideas aren't reality sometimes in business. Oftentimes they're not, right? And so you have to be able to pivot and move and change direction. when you're going full force one way and go, okay, this isn't working, I've got to pivot, I got to
Yes.
change something up.
Yeah.
What would either of you say was the most valuable lesson that y'all have learned in the first few years of being a broker, of being a real estate agent?
Well, Marco wasn't at the time, but I was in an office that had many of the best and most the agents that did a lot of business.
Okay.
In fact, some of the largest in the state of Texas.
Wow.
So for me, it was easy to watch and see what they did
Okay. Yep.
and just kind of emulate. I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. If they're the most successful in the state, I just kind of watched and did what they did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So-
Mm-hmm. How about you, Marco?
And my experience starting was almost pretty opposite. It was just a bunch of new agents trying to figure out, hungry agents.
Yeah.
Who understood, hey, there's homes to sell. You market yourself, you get yourself out there, you do open houses. But it was kind of, we're clawing up, trying to claw through this because we didn't have the top agents to emulate.
Yeah.
We were just kind of walking blindly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was tough. It was tough, but some of us didn't make it. Some of those agents no longer are working.
Sure.
And but for the most part, I knew, hey, this is what I want to do. So I just had to keep focused.
Yeah. Yeah. Ray, what I would decipher from what you said is, and probably for people starting out in this field or any field, is find you a mentor, someone you can follow. Is that
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, I'd had business experience prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't necessarily my first rodeo in business. And I had managed people before and what have you. So I didn't chase a lot of rabbit trails
Mm-hmm.
like somebody maybe with zero experience did, because I just latched on right away and went with it.
Yeah. The thing is, you go through the iterative process of entrepreneurship. When you enter into, at least from my experience, right, you think that it's going to get easier, right? I tell people that, people think that you just work hard on the front end and then it coasts after that. And I said, that's a complete fallacy. You work differently than you did when you first started.
You work smarter.
You work smarter. You're more efficient.
Yes.
Okay. You learn, like you just said, not to chase those rabbit holes, right? You understand your worth. You understand your value, right? And you hold people accountable. You hold your team members accountable,
Correct.
right? And you set the standard. You then become the mentor as you get older, right? And you set an expectation that people around you are going to operate and act accordingly,
Correct.
or they won't engage with you in business.
Correct.
Yes. Those are great stories. I would then kind of follow up with, say, what would either of you say was your toughest challenge that you faced in your whole career, if you had to just name one of them, and how did you overcome that? I know probably for you, Marco, that was the 2008.
Yeah. And that was something that really stood out, but it really is, that's a question it's hard to narrow down. It's, just there's so much uncertainty in real estate. And at the very beginning, I was, things were good. It was when it rained, it poured. But when it was dry, I'm like, where's the next deal coming? It's like, where's the next deal coming? It's just about having faith and make sure you're saving for those cold.
The
cold
unknowns
seasons.
can be scary, can't they? Not knowing, right?
Yeah.
Like you go through those
And
low.
Almost
moments.
any business, a commission-based business,
Yeah.
that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But in real estate, it's just, for some, it feels so much bigger. It feels so like there's the market's doing this, because you can't, it's hard to create or get around what's going on in the market. If interest rates are high and you're fighting a lot, you're fighting climate. It's those uncertainties where, like, okay, that's at that point you kind of just do what you need to do, but make sure you have savings, you're in good shape, and you're not kind of just out there just chasing a deal just because that shows with clients that, hey, a desperation. So you just kind of have to just stay calm.
Yeah. Your personal cash flow and your professional cash flow has to be in order, right? Because you don't know when you're going to have some of those sustained pitfalls, right? When you're in those lull moments, and you've got to make sure you can cash flow both in your business and in your personal life to kind of bridge that gap until things start to pick up a little bit. So you have to be very disciplined.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Ray, what about you? What was your most?
The toughest thing for me probably, and still is to this day, because we still get it in this Rejection.
Rejection. Can you give me some,
That's
some
hard.
emphasis?
So when I first got started, right, I knew we'd been in the Woodlands for a while. I knew a lot of people.
Yeah.
And people with expensive homes.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I'm going along, I'm contacting and I'm doing all the stuff you're supposed to do as a realtor. And,
Yeah.
I would see a home go up, and it was somebody that I knew, and I'm going,
Why don't they want to do business with me?
why didn't you even call?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, I don't mind if I sit in front of you and you want to choose somebody else, but call.
Yeah.
So what I came to understand is at the beginning, they still didn't think of me as a realtor, right?
Uh-huh.
Even though you're talking about it, but in your mind.
Yeah.
And so I would talk to my wife, and I would go, honey, I've been on mission trips with this person, and
What?
and
Yeah.
it's not like I don't know them real
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
They didn't even call me. And
Mhm.
so she looked at me and she said, so if we put our house on the market, would you use yourself right away?
Mm-hmm.
I went, okay. So it takes a experience,
Mhm.
that's something you have to gain in
Mhm.
this industry. And that just comes with time.
Yeah. I think that's great, because I even dealt with that in my career as well, right? Like, why does someone not want to conduct business
Yeah.
with me, right? And so,
'Cause I'm a good guy.
yeah, you're a great guy,
And I'm
right?
good at
And,
what I
you know
do.
you're going to put them first with everything that
Yeah.
you do. And I think that there's this hurdle that you have to overcome when you have a friendship there, right? That not only do they view you as a friend, because sometimes people also don't want to sever that friendship, right? And something goes astray and goes awry.
And
with
we
that.
hear that a lot.
Yeah.
That's
And they go, well, I really enjoy our friendship, and I
yes,
didn't
and
want to ruin our.
jeopardize it.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I
And-
don't know if that's true or not, but
Well,
it's a good.
I think it depends on the person, right?
Yeah,
And
it
wherever
does.
they are in the iterative process,
It does.
But I think I would just always say that you've probably not done enough in that person's eyes, right, to garner their trust in business. And
in all honesty, as I look back,
yeah, but we don't want to tell
we,
ourselves that.
we can do stuff a whole lot better now than we could have when we 1 or 2 years into
absolutely.
it. Right? I get it 100%.
Yeah. But it's a hard pill to swallow.
It is
Our
a
ego
hard
gets in
pill.
the way,
It's
right?
very
You're like,
hard.
wow.
Even with the toughest skin, it's definitely one where like you take it personal.
Yeah.
But one thing that helps you get through it is like realize it's not always your fault. It's like, hey, it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
On to the next one. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Absolutely. And here's another thing that I think a lot of people don't look at as well. We can be friends, but maybe from a business perspective, one individual's business acumen is much higher than another person's.
Yeah.
And they look at them and they say, well, I just don't think you're going to be able to meet my demands on a business level, right? Because certain people can be really super cool out in society, but they can be a little bit of an ass when it comes to business sometimes, because they take that very serious. And they might look at you in some aspects. It's not a knock, but they just might say, well, I just don't see the same assertiveness. And I just don't think that they'll handle my business the same way. Because
I hope that doesn't happen nowadays.
No, right? and it gets back to you've not instilled that confidence in them.
Correct.
And it's a hard pill for us to internalize early on in our careers,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Why that rejection, like you said. Marco, you hit on this. I want to touch about something real quick. You hit on this earlier, and you were talking about the low moments and having to be able to push through. From my experience, and both of y'all, I want to see if it's the same way for real estate. When we garner new business, we'll go through our low moments, right? And then things come in waves. So we just don't get like one new client that comes in and then one new client that comes in. We might get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 clients that come in, and then we might go 4 or 5 months, nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Very
So
typical.
And
Very,
I've
very
had those
typical.
thoughts before. I was like, why can't it just y'all take a number? It's like, I'm with this one. You stay there. Don't move. I'll be with you in a month
Yeah.
or in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But obviously, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you're correct.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's
right.
that's the nature of our business.
It is.
And you have to, if you have you're very, very schedule oriented and you can't deviate from that schedule, you don't want to get into real estate, because I might wake up tomorrow morning and somebody's going to want to look at 6 houses, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
And I had no idea.
Yeah.
So and you don't you do not say no.
Mhm,
You make it work.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember, my father back in the day, he used to tell me when it's time to get it, Jake, you go. I don't care if you're tired or whatever, because one day that opportunity might not be
That's
there.
correct.
And so getting back to, you've got to be disciplined, because you're going to go through those low moments in all entrepreneurial endeavors that you go through. I promise you will have your highs and you will have your lows.
Yeah.
And what you don't want to do is, you don't want to assume, if you go through a 3-month period where you have a slug of business, you don't want to assume that that's going to continue. I mean, it'd be nice if it did, but the reality is you're going to go through those low moments.
And that's another thing, Jake, is you've talked about it. The longer you're in the business,
You understand that.
the more you understand.
Yeah.
And you don't panic like
Yeah.
you maybe
Correct.
would have.
It's going to happen.
A few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, great. Let me ask you guys this. What would either of you consider probably your most significant win so far? I would ask you on a professional level as well as on a personal level.
My professional biggest win is this man sitting right here.
I love that.
To be able
I
to
love that.
to partner with him for what we had 16 years now.
16 years now.
It's
I love
almost
that.
going 17.
2010. I always
Yeah.
think 2010,
Yeah. I love
whatever.
So we've grown a lot together.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of different things, and it's always nice to have two heads are better than one.
Yeah.
And opinions. There's some clients that fit him a whole lot better than they fit me,
Mm-hmm.
and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so, we don't have big egos, and it's a team, it's a group, and we want to do the best for our client. We want them to be happy.
Yeah.
A house is one of the most expensive things that you can purchase in your
Yeah.
life, right?
Yep.
And it affects you personally and financially. You got children and grandchildren or whatever the case may be, and you want them happy.
It's your sanctuary.
It-
It was funny. We were having a conversation out there right before the podcast, right? And I remember, especially when it's your primary home, if you're lucky enough to have more than one home, kudos to you. But when it is your primary home, it's important to not only like your home, but to love your home, right? That is where you spend the majority of your time.
Mm-hmm.
If you aren't 100% happy in the location, in the house itself, with the people you interact with around your community, you need to get that settled before anything else in life can actually be settled.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And that's what we base. That's what we base our business off of. We were talking. I talked somebody out of a $3 million home last night. It would have been easy to say, "Oh yeah, man, that's the right one," and blah blah.
Yeah.
We went through the pros and cons, and I was going, "You spending $3 million, you gotta be happy."
Yeah.
We've been looking for a long time with those people. It might be another 3-5 years, but unfortunately, there's a lot of people that would have just, pushed that through, and they wouldn't have been happy. Because you said it's their sanctuary.
Yeah, and to hit on that a little bit more, integrity and character matter.
Yeah.
Okay. And what Ray is alluding to is, if the person who's selling you something doesn't 100% agree with what they're selling, they shouldn't be selling that to you. I don't care what it is, whether it's a product, whether it's a home, whether it's a service, whatever it may be. If you don't believe in what you're selling, you should not be selling it. And that's someone with integrity. That's someone with character right there. Okay. You mentioned there for a second that your biggest win was teaming up with Marco.
For sure.
And I told you I love that, right? Because Marco's made an amazing impact on me and my family as well. So Marco sold my house that I had off Maple Branch. He found the house for my wife and I. And to elaborate on that, my wife and I were not married at the time, but we were in the process of joining families. And so there were only a few neighborhoods that we were looking at. We were kind of unknown at what we wanted. And then we absolutely fell in love with this specific neighborhood. Mm. And I think, Marco, you and I had a conversation. Maybe my wife, I know she probably had a conversation.
Yeah.
She can be a little more direct than I am.
Always, yeah.
Exactly, right? And so she says, Marco, this is the neighborhood we want to live in, right? And this is what our budget was going to be. Yeah. The problem was, this was 4 years ago, something like that. Yeah. And this was a time frame when interest rates were extremely low and house prices were kind of going up, but it was turning into a bidding market here, right? Yeah. So sometimes to be successful, especially if you wanted to live in a specific neighborhood, you had to find these deals before they actually went to market.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Very much so.
Yeah. And that was exactly what happened in this situation with
Yeah.
Marco. And I can tell you that this gentleman right here executed flawlessly.
Yeah.
And everything that he did. So I understand exactly what
Yeah.
you're saying.
It definitely helped. It definitely helped that, we were focused on a certain area.
Yeah.
So that I just call it, we got to do what we do. Call
Yeah.
around, call other agents, do it, kind of check with the neighbors or talk to the owners and see what we got to do. But
And that's where I think that if you choose the right real estate agent, you choose the right individual who actually cares, right? It can be, and at least through my experience, it can be a profession that gets highly reliant on technology, just going online,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But this gentleman right here went above and beyond. And there was even one time that I remember we were looking at a house that was up in Conroe and you couldn't make it. I think you had something to happen. Ray, you met me and my
I
wife
did.
up there. And
did.
I still remember that. And Ray made such an amazing impression on our family as well. And so obviously, and I've known Marco, we've been friends for over 10 years, over a decade now,
Yeah.
when it got time, when I got ready to sell my house, I mean, you're the person I reached out to. I didn't even talk to anyone else.
Yeah.
And then when we looked to buy, you were our guy for that.
Yeah.
And that's just dealing with someone with integrity and character, and a group that deals with integrity and character. You can't put a price on that, because this house that we bought solidified our marriage and solidified our family in this regard.
good.
Right. So we're extremely happy with everything, and it's all because of Marco. And he
appreciate
understood exactly what we wanted as
Appreciate
a client.
And it's with all due respect, it's a win-win for us as well, because 95% of our business for the last 4 years has been referrals.
Yeah.
We don't do cold calls or anything else. It's just the people, if you're genuine
Mm-hmm.
and honest
Mm-hmm.
and fair and do the right thing,
Yep.
integrity.
Absolutely.
It-
It's something else I want to hit on, and then we'll ask you what your biggest accomplishments were, Marco. But when you said you guys aligned together, right? I think what a lot of people don't understand is when you take that road of entrepreneurship, it's a lonely road.
mm,
Okay. Very few individuals are like-minded in that regard. And I know even married couples, their spouses, it's hard to assimilate for them to understand because it's not like you're it's not a knock on people that work 9 to 5 as a job or anything.
Yeah.
It is just a different mindset, I would say. And it's a lonely road, and you're on top kind of by yourself when you're even doing well. And people have a hard time relating to you, and you have a hard time relating to people, because the whole, I guess not necessarily ideology, but the theory out there is, well, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you don't ever work.
yeah.
And like, what? There's not a day that I don't work in some capacity. I don't care if it's administrative work.
Vacation.
You're always working.
Yeah,
always working.
exactly. And people don't understand that. You never shut down. The best analogy I tell people is, where someone might go to a job 9 to 5 and, they're a high speed supercomputer that they're working, but they're going for 8 hours, 9 hours a day. We're like a server. We never go down.
Yeah.
There are iterations where you work hard, and there's iterations where you don't work as hard, but you never shut down.
Yeah.
But
right.
it's fun.
It is fun, right? Once you figure it out, it's fun.
Yeah.
So I think it's so amazing when you have someone to share that with.
Yep.
It makes the journey so much better. But you got to be careful, because you want to make sure you're choosing the right partner.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because if you choose the wrong partner, it can be detrimental. And obviously, you guys have the same integrity, the same character,
Right.
the same love, the same passion, and it shows in all that y'all do.
Yeah.
And so I think that is remarkable. I think that you guys are outliers when it comes to that, and I don't think a lot of people get to experience that.
Right.
So I would just say, if you want to model yourself after two business partners together, these are the two individuals right here. Okay.
Yeah.
Marco, go ahead and share with us some of your personal and professional accomplishments or awards, or just biggest successes and wins per se.
The professional is the biggest win for me. Was it altered my real estate career is joining the Ray Larson group.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know if I'd still, I don't know if I would have made it. I'll be honest. I don't know if I would have made it, but a lot of assistance came out of that, mentorship, guidance. As we were talking about before, you have to always be available. And I've had situations where I'm about to go on vacation, and you get a call, and it's funny how you always do get calls when you're on vacation. It's almost a given. You want a deal? Go on vacation.
Yep.
And so that Ray was there, and the girls were there to take care of it.
Mhm.
Just, it was a big help.
Yeah.
So that was a big professional win.
Yep.
For me. But the personal is just the family, the 3-year-old daughter. It's that stuff that assists with that, because again, if I was doing this on my own, that would that part of it would be affected. The family part would be affected, and it would be more difficult to get through everything that we have to go through to make sure
it completes you.
Yeah.
Almost like the movie, I hate to sound cheesy, but the Jerry Maguire, You Complete Me, but having the family at home and coming back and it completes your journey and what you're trying to accomplish, right? Your work family is great. Your home family is great. I mean, what more can you ask for?
And when the both of them get together and like each other, it's even better.
It does. Absolutely. So those are great stories. And hopefully everyone out there is kind of seeing the impact and the importance of choosing the right partners, business partners out there. I always say, you are the 5 people that you choose to associate with. So you better choose those 5 people wisely. That's both in personal and in business, right? That can even be your spouse. Right. Yeah. So if you choose the wrong person, it can almost be like you've got one bad apple and you got 4 good apples. That one bad apple, if it starts rotting, it's going to impact and affect everything else. So it's very important in business is to associate with the right people and eliminate any bad actors
quickly.
Yes, quickly. During volatile times in the real estate market, what motivated the two of you guys? How do you stay motivated?
I just kind of touched on it. The family, my family, I know that they rely on me.
Yeah.
That's to keep pushing. Even when baby says, "Daddy, please don't go to work." I'm like, luckily my wife's there to soothe her and make sure everything's good. But having to rely, I know they rely on me. So that's when the creative juices start flowing. And we figure out, hey, it's a tough time. So what can we do? What can we do? That's a big deal for me, the family.
Right.
Well, it's volatile for you, but it's volatile for your clients too.
Yeah.
So, the reassurance, the calmness, the being able to explain, having the experience that have gone through those, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to assure them that it will get through it. And you'll be happy, and in the end, it'll be a win-win.
Yeah. Marco, what you said was, your family kept you in the line, right? Kept you motivated on things. I remember when I started my firm 15, 16 years ago, at that time, I had a newborn with my ex-wife, and I had left Total Petrochemicals. I was in charge of the Federal International Tax Department there, and I started my own firm. And I had some side clients on the side before I had started, but it wasn't enough to pay the bills. But I knew that I couldn't continue to toggle between corporate America and my side clients. I was burning the candle at both ends, and I was getting 3 hours of sleep a night. And plus we had a newborn, so it was very stressful. Yeah. And I had to make a decision back then. Was I going to go 100% for it and go into business for myself? Or was I going to stay in corporate America? But something was going to have to give. And I knew that I just really wasn't happy in corporate America. It just wasn't me, right? And everybody's different. And it's not a knock. Look, people, if it's for you, that's fantastic. I'm not trying to say anything negative towards it. I'm just saying my personality, who I am as a person, it wasn't a good fit for me. Okay. With that being said, I know that I went out on my own, right? Knowing that I had a wife that didn't work at the time, and we had a newborn, that I had a huge gap I had to make up as far as income coming into my house, right? So and things were done a lot differently back then, right? Yeah, we had the internet, but we didn't really have the marketing ways that we did, or at least I wasn't privy to it, we didn't have the channels that was out there. So it was beating the pavement is what it was. Yeah. Literally, I would print out flyers and I would go door to door. Most of my door to door would always be to businesses though, because it was just a higher return for me specifically, but you had to get past the gatekeeper, right? Yeah. And I know for myself, right, that I would even do work for people pro bono, and then they would pay me if they were happy. If they weren't happy, then they wouldn't have to pay me. And along the way, you get burned by a few people, right? But I met some fantastic people that really appreciated my work too along the way, and they're still clients to this day.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what I would say is the slogan that I always had in my mind was when I walked out that door, and I would be gone for 14, 16 hours in a day, and I was exhausted when I came home. Failure was not an option.
Yeah.
Great.
There was no plan B. There was no plan C
Yeah.
because I was giving it 100%, right? And I know that anyone who wants to go into entrepreneurship, they always want to kind of just get their toe wet, right? And it becomes a side business. I understand that. But at some point, you got to rip that Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
And you got to say,
You do.
either you're going to do this or you're not, right? It's like your business relationship is just like a personal relationship. If you want your personal relationship to work, you have to be all in with that partner, right?
Yeah.
Same thing for business. If you're not all in and you're not married to that, where failure is not an option, there's no divorce here, right?
No.
There's no divorce in marriage. There's no divorce in business, right? You're going to do this. If you don't take that deep dive, you're never going to have the successes that you want. You're never going to be fully fulfilled. And chances are you have a much higher probability of failure, in my experience.
Yeah.
And it also trickles down to your clients.
They know it. Yeah. They know it. If your priorities, if your attention is somewhere else, they know. They get in the room with you and they're like, okay, this guy's not interested. Yep. So anyway, I just wanted to add that. And I'm sure you felt the same way, Marco. Is that right? Failure was not an option?
It wasn't. And there's just that drive, that fire that you have that it just can't happen. It just won't happen.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have faith as long as I'm doing the right things and work.
Yep.
That it's just, you won't fail.
Yeah.
I won't fail.
Yep.
Well, and when you see that Amazon truck and that FedEx truck and that UPS truck stopping all the time and
I got to go to
on a
work.
first name basis, it's incentive.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. What advice would you give someone, Ray, that wanted to get into real estate or even entrepreneurship as a whole? What type of advice would you give them for starting their own business or starting to become a realtor? Either situation.
Well, in a service oriented relating to real estate, kind of some of the things we've discussed, you've got to be honest because people see through that very quickly. I think when you first start, you maybe push a little bit more. You kind of go outside your personality a little bit because you're trying to impress.
Yeah.
And sometimes that works, but sometimes it doesn't work, right? So the quicker you can know the business, understand it, don't be afraid to work.
Mm-hmm.
When I started in real estate, 80, 100 hours was nothing.
Yeah.
And that goes
People
on.
nowadays don't even understand what
goes
that
on
means.
for years.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, probably, so I've been doing this 18 years. Probably the first 10 to 12 years was minimum 80, usually 100 or more hours a week.
Wow.
And that's just day after day. Like we talked, when you go on vacation, you're on the phone.
Yeah.
And you're working because you have to.
Yep.
And as time goes on and your clientele gets larger, it's a little easier because of the referrals and whatever. And you have people that can help you.
You have a team in place.
That you trust, right?
Yep.
And stuff. So I think that's real. Don't expect to get rich quick.
Yeah.
I think I was in the business 4 or 5 years before I even broke even.
Yeah.
Right. So, but
There's no such thing as overnight success.
as we discussed before, it's very rewarding. You have to have the right personality.
Yes.
But if you like it, it's extremely rewarding.
Yeah.
To be able to for us to make people happy. And again, we discussed the 95% referral or repeat business. And it's because, we've been straightforward and people like you like the end result. So they keep coming back.
Authenticity.
That's the word.
Yep. These gentlemen right here are 100% authentic, which it's not a play with them. I can tell you that firsthand. They are exactly who you see right here on camera.
Yeah.
And even probably better, truthfully. I don't know. Like just remarkable. Yeah, exactly. What about you, Marco? What would you say if you would give someone advice that wants to enter into real estate and or just starting their own new business?
The basics is invest in yourself, learn, shadow, network, shadow another agent, maybe get with another agent, network with other agents, with other contractors, your insurance companies, your title companies. And again, I touched on this before, have a good amount of savings. You have to, because you don't want to come in like just out of college with no money. It's just, that's a tough one. And if you don't have that, tighten your belt and you just make sure that you're spending the right way. But definitely you have to love the business, because I think you and I have discussed it before, and Ray hit on it, where we are working a lot of hours, and some of those hours don't. If you told me, Marco, you were just on the phone with somebody at 10 o'clock at night discussing something, that's a business hour. I'm like, I just don't feel that way. Yeah, it was me resolving an issue. And clearing my plate and helping this client sleep better at night, because that obviously they called me late at night because they're worried. So let's resolve the issue. Depending on the situation, you wait in the morning, but I feel that that's just part of the package. And again, not the work 8 hours. It just comes easy. And
he's not lying. 10 o'clock at night. I think when I talked at 10 o'clock at night, not because of me, but because my wife was like, call Marco. And they can accept it. But, and
you're not an exception.
and so not everyone takes that approach. One of the things that I know that I correlate with it, and I think both of y'all will agree, because I kind of heard it in some of y'all's language there, obsession.
Yes.
You've got to be obsessed with what you're doing, right? And that means just not working 9 to 5, right? It literally means working after hours, like Marco was alluding to here. There's always something you should be researching, trying to figure out, spending copious amounts of time just trying to understand your business. I always say, and this is a terrible analogy. It's not a terrible analogy, but it's one that's kind of tongue in cheek in the sense of there's a reason God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. And when you're starting out in business, you keep your mouth shut and those ears open and listen, because your client's going to tell you what they want. Find you a good mentor, someone that you respect. Listen to them, their guidance, instead of trying to project yourself without any experience. Right. I see that all too often. A lot of people that come into like our profession, they have a year or 2 experience and they're these know-it-alls and they want to try it. And I'm like, that doesn't work, and you're just.
In fact, we like those type of people because they talk too much. And you find out a lot of information that you can use against them. The other thing is we've worked very hard, and I know this is a fact, to be very respected by our peers.
Yes.
That our reputation, I'm not just saying it because I hear feedback all the time from clients and from other agents, is to have a great respect with our peers, so that when we tell them something, it's done. I mean, they don't have to look back. They don't have to second guess. They can take it to the bank and they can tell their client, and it just makes it easy for everybody.
Yep.
And I think that's very important too, just to be respected by your peers in whatever industry you're in. And it opens a lot of doors.
Yeah, your personal brand matters.
Yeah, very much so.
And let me tell you something. Your personal brand is not just, during work hours.
No.
I always tell people, we're not light switches. It's not you turn it on, turn it off. However you are in your personal life, you're probably like that in your business life as well. Right. And not that you can't have fun and, from time to time, but, people are judging you every day. Right. And we don't want to be judged, but the reality is everybody does it to some extent. Right.
I never go to HEB in shorts or a t-shirt or whatever. That's where our clients are, and they see you. I mean, you have to, and you want to be put on a good reputation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Respect, I think is the word.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're seeing somebody in cutoffs and you have a $2 million house listed, really?
Yeah.
You didn't look like that before.
This is the guy that I'm going to trust in. Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you guys this. What mistakes did you guys make early on in y'all's career as an entrepreneur? And if you could kind of go back and fix it, would you fix it? And what would you do differently?
Not taking, because you're new to it and you're scared of making the wrong move, not taking those risks. But I think that's very normal. Most people aren't going to take every risk.
Yeah.
In real estate, spending marketing dollars
Yeah.
on, we get a lot of emails from, hey, do this, we can give you this.
Hundreds.
Yes.
Hundreds.
And so spending marketing dollars with promises for quick success, that was a regret, but it's something you learn from. That's the definitely the positive thing is you get that really quick.
Yep.
Especially you're in the system, so they know you're an agent. You start getting bombarded with calls and emails. You start learning.
Yep.
Okay, you
Yep.
just kind of filter it out and go with who you're comfortable with.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with Marco. Probably the mistake is chasing too many of those rabbit trails
Mm-hmm.
and not quickly enough aligning with the successful agents. Because again, successful agents in your own company, they'll help you out.
Yeah.
You're really not competition to them because their clients aren't going to call you anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they're in general very, very, very helpful and try to help you out. And there are very few exceptions to that. In the Woodlands, there's a lot of agents in this. I think there's 4,500 real estate agents in Montgomery County, but basically 20 of us do 80% of the business.
Yeah.
And so anybody that's starting in the real estate, just go to those people. They'll help you out.
Yeah.
Because you're not, with all due respect, you're not a threat to them anyway. and the more business they can get in their company, it helps them too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think I kind of heard you say this, Ray. I know this was something in my business. One of my things that I did was kind of on the very beginning, I was kind of a people pleaser. I wanted to help everybody.
Yep.
And you mentioned about chasing those rabbit holes down,
Yep.
And I think as you mature, as you gain or garner more experience, right, and you understand your worth even more.
Yeah.
You realize when someone's wasting your time.
Yes.
Or they're trying to get free advice or free service and they're not really serious.
Yeah.
Okay. Or they're trying to take advantage of you and whatever the situation is. And I always say that people will treat you as you allow them to treat you. Right. And so it takes years. It takes a lot of maturity to realize that, I always say you focus on the people that you want to, whoever you want to be, you have to focus on those same type of individuals that you want to assimilate with and do business with. And if you're assimilating with the wrong people, it's going to distract you from those other opportunities.
Yes.
And so for me, that probably would be early on if I would figure that out earlier rather than later, that don't waste my time with those individuals that don't respect my time, aren't really serious, or, trying to be a little shifty.
Yeah. I can still remember the first time I said, I don't think I'm the agent for you.
Yeah.
And that was, because they're wasting time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, I have fired more people now later in my career than ever fired me.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, this isn't a good fit.
When he told me, when I first started with him, when he told me eventually you're going to get to the point where you're going to have to say no, but let people go. And I'm like, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it. I was like, no, it can't be that good. But yeah, it happens because there's a limited amount of time and clients start adding up and you do have to start filtering through. You got to kind of clean up your network of clients.
Yeah.
And so that happens and you have to say no in the most polite way. We try.
It gets easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, but we try to exhaust as much as possible. Hey, Ray, do you want to try to figure something? No, but no, it happens, and it's fun. I'm like that you have that control.
Yeah,
of the situation.
Well, you have that confidence, right? That that I can let this person go, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
That's a good way to explain it.
Yeah. How do you identify and create opportunities in a crowded real estate market? You just mentioned there were 4,500 real estate agents, and how do you differentiate
pretty much kind of what we've discussed. You have a respect from your peers. With that respect, during COVID, we closed 125 homes in the year. Wow. Yeah, that's closed. You can imagine how many homes we were in, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So because of the respect that we had, when we came with a contract, guess who got the last look? Because they know that if we tell them something, just don't worry about it. It'll be there.
Yeah.
I've told the story. There's a lot of, sometimes you get fooled and a client will switch on you. And there's been times where I've written a check out for $5,000-$10,000 because the client reneged on what they said. I gave my word to that other agent.
Yep.
You should write the check out.
Yeah.
But long term, it's a win-win, right?
Mhm.
Because of the respect that you have.
Just in those situations, you just become Mr. or Miss Real Estate. One thing you can do is focus on an area and to distinguish yourself and say, hey, it's, preferably like maybe where you live.
Yeah.
And say, I know this area. I'm your neighbor. You need anything, I'm right around the corner.
Yeah.
And you market to them. So you can distinguish yourself that way. But as Ray mentioned, there's so many agents in Montgomery County that are doing their social media. They're doing podcasts and they're doing things that are the right things to do. So it becomes more difficult to actually become the one that does this one thing different.
Yeah.
But you're just trying to latch on. Don't reinvent the wheel. Just trying to latch on to what's brings success.
And you rely on your past clients.
Yeah.
The referrals.
Yeah. One of the things I hear is and I know we run our practice the same way, but through my experience dealing with y'all is you just care more than the next person.
Yeah.
That's what it is,
Yeah.
And one of the terminologies I always try to emphasize at our firm, and I know based on what you just said, Ray, and that's what hit close to my heart was when you had to write those checks and it was the client's fault, but you have the integrity to write that check to make good on it. It's people over profits.
Yes.
It's people over profits.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you something. It just might sound like a coined phrase, but the type of individual who operates their business like that is few and far between. I would say less than 1% out there.
Yeah.
And you know this, and I'm not trying to spot like that or but when you find people that have that type of integrity, I always say, man, you don't move off those people ever.
Yeah.
That's just real talk right there.
But in the end, it works for the client that you don't even have yet, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to come to that agent and if
Yeah.
he says it or Marco says it or whatever, don't worry about it. It's done.
Yeah. I've been in business for a long time, and I know like everyone makes mistakes in business. We're human.
Yep.
And if someone tells you they don't make, that's never happened on my watch,
Yeah.
they're just lying to you, honestly.
Yes.
You need to run from those type of people. We've made mistakes before in the past, and let me tell you something. And when I say we, I'm talking about my organization. At the end of the day, might not personally be me, but it might be one of my staff members.
Yep.
And I can tell you when that happens, we're still held accountable. It's still our organization. It happened on our watch.
Yeah.
What most of the time we don't even know about till we find out later that this has happened. You know how that works.
We've done that too. I go, well, there goes your bonus this year.
Yeah.
as we write out the check.
And it's just doing the right thing.
Yes.
And I've in class go, I can't believe this just happened. I go, don't worry about it. We're gonna make whole. Well, what do you mean you're gonna file an entry? No, we're just gonna make whole one. Don't worry about it. It's just doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, like in our profession, so many firms just go, well, I'll just lose the client over it. And sometimes you lose the client, sometimes you don't lose the client. But at the end of the day, you've got to be okay with who you see yourself in the mirror at the end of the day, I always say. And I try to put myself in the client's shoes. Would I want the person, if the mistake had happened, for them to foot the bill? And yeah, I would. So I need to operate by the same measures.
Yeah.
And that's a trait that's oftentimes lost.
Yeah.
And you say you lose the client, but you probably gain 3 down the line because of
You do. Yeah. And I always say, if you just stay pure to your heart,
just like we've talked several times. Yeah.
Yeah. To hit on that a little bit more, how important is it, Ray, to have the right team in place for success?
Oh. Marco said he wouldn't be in the business. I wouldn't either. We are blessed. We have each other. And then we have a couple of ladies that have been with us a very long time.
Yeah.
And they have, I think, 50 years, maybe not quite, maybe 40 years of 40, 50 years of real estate experience between the two of them.
Yeah.
They've both been agents before. And so the best compliments I get. So we do Exxon people, not so much medical, because the medical, the hospitals aren't new anymore. So but when you bring in doctors move around a lot. I didn't realize that, but particularly like Exxon people who move all the time. And so the Exxon client, for example, may have moved 10 times. Not exaggerating, at least 8 out of 10 closings, even today, that I go to, the client said, man, we've moved 6 times. We've never had the service that we've had from, they'll name our girls Michelle or Sandy or both, right?
Yep.
So I go, well, what about me? I negotiated. Go, yeah, go.
Yeah.
You don't worry about it, Ray. But Sandy did it, or Michelle did. We're a group, and we're a team, and that is the biggest compliment to me that you can have is for people to say that, because they move a lot, and to have them say that about your team,
it means more than just yourself.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Marco?
Yeah, whenever we have a vendor that we're talking to or somebody new we're speaking with, and Ray definitely likes to remind them, hey, these 2 girls are the best in the business. You really can't find anybody to do what they.
Yeah. And they are.
Yeah, I mean, between all of us, I was thinking we only had like total of 60, but it's like, if you add that, it's like 80 years of experience in real estate, our group.
Yeah.
So that matters a lot. I mean, it's always, I grew up with that. It's like experience matters, and we got that. So it took time. It's not going to happen immediately, but you need to start it up. That team dynamics is really helpful.
Super, super, super important.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I know that, when we were asking our clients to give us Google reviews out there, I'd always say, look, man, it's great. Like, look, I love referrals. Someone wants to come here because of me or for my business partner, Rick. But at the end of the day, what means more to me is when they go, Jenny's doing a great job, or Anna's doing a great job, or Shannon's doing a great job. Because that's how I know, because they interact with the client way more than Rick or myself, because we have to manage everything, and we only see a small snapshot of what's actually going on because we have so much to do, right? And so if I'm not getting those reviews, then I don't feel comfortable that my staff is operating at the magnitude that I want them to operate at, right? That properly represents who we are and what our organization stands for.
Right.
And so it's like a proud dad moment. I hate to say it like that, but when you see that kind of stuff,
it
makes me much happier than someone gives a referral with my name on it. I don't care about the accolades myself at this point in my age, Right. I would rather boost those girls up back there, and accolades go to them.
Because they make you look good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And like you said, this is a team approach, right? It's almost like a football team. You can't just have a running back with no blockers in the front, right? You need your offensive linemen, you need your defense, you need your special teams. Every member of your organization matters.
Yes.
And I always say, for true success, there's not one position that's more important than the other. They're all just as important, because if they aren't firing on all cylinders, you'll never really reach that pinnacle that you seek. Yeah. What qualities do either of you guys look for when hiring or trying to see if someone is the right fit?
I think the experience that's.
Well, we've been blessed where we don't have much turnover, so we really don't have to worry about it that much.
But
really, that's true.
Yeah,
their personalities.
Yeah.
We always talk about how Michelle, for instance, she can latch on to something. She's an open book. She likes to read a lot. She's very knowledgeable. And Sandy is always there on top of things, making sure everything is in line. So it's just that the personalities and the way we all work together.
Yeah.
That's that you have to work well together.
So what I'm hearing, and we're the same way, culture.
Mm-hmm.
Has to be the right. Has to be
best word. Yes.
Has to be the right culture. I know the first thing that I always ask every interviewer that come in, I say, obviously you have their resume, right? And you have a list of questions that they already answered with the recruiter. And I always say, all right, putting all this to the side, tell me about you as an individual. I want to know who you are.
Yeah.
Tell me this. What do I need to know? If I want to know who you are day in and day out, what would you tell me about yourself?
Yeah.
Because
Very well put.
oftentimes, let me tell you, you spend more time with your work family than you even do your home family, right?
Mhm.
And so someone might be super qualified, but excuse my French, if they're an ass, I don't need that cancer around. Like you want people who want to be there and that are enjoyable to work with, because if they're enjoyable to work with within your firm, they're going to be enjoyable to work with outside of your firm with your client base.
And no backstabbers.
No, I don't play that political corporate game. Like, and for me also, I always say this: there should never be a job that's beneath you, right? Even myself, I've literally years and years ago, I would see some of my accountants that were drowning back there in returns. They need to be prepared before they came to me for review. I would walk back there and I would just go, "What are you drowning about?" "Oh, well, I've got this whole stack. Give them to me. I'll go take care of them."
Yeah,
and I'll just prepare them, review them myself, right? Because me specifically, I would never ask someone to do something that I wouldn't do. So I'm never going to compromise someone to put them in an awkward situation. But one of the things I always hate in corporate America, and you guys probably have seen this as well, is someone would always say, "Well, that's just not my job."
Oh man.
And that used to always irk me. I would see like an administrative lady that I'd worked for in downtown Houston, and I would see she was swamped, and I wasn't as busy at the time. Well, you need those returns bounded and paper clipped and whatnot. I got you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like I have some downtime. I can help you.
Yeah.
And they would be so happy, but then everybody else would frown at me in corporate America, like, "How dare, that's beneath you. Why would you go do that?" And I go, "It's not beneath me. No. I'm helping out my peers. That's it. There's nothing wrong with that."
Nope.
And so I always said when I had my firm is I wanted to predicate it off of no job beneath you. It's always about servicing the client first. That's what matters the most. And I know you guys operate the same way.
Because it rolls down.
They'll remember it. They'll remember it.
It does. Definitely. And I tell the girls in the back, if you see somebody that's drowning, help them, because there's going to be a moment you're going to be drowning. Yes. You're going to want them to help you. Yeah. Can either of you share a story where having the right team around you made all the difference on that specific deal or a project that you were working on?
Man, too many stories. I know you want a specific, but it's those moments where that for me are more memorable when I am at my wit's end of trying to figure out how I'm going. I don't have the answer. So talking to Ray or talking to Michelle or Sandy, it's just basically, hey, sometimes just even to listen. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I just told myself, I kind of learned myself, or I've given myself the solution. Most of the times it's them saying, hey, maybe you should do this or this. That happens quite a bit. So too many stories to tell, but that's something I definitely appreciate. Yeah. And is one of the, again, benefits for having that group.
Yeah.
The culture of the team.
Yeah, I agree. Sandy would go and walk a dog for somebody.
Yeah.
When they were, the house was showing and they were out maybe downtown or something, and there was a short notice, so she ran over and took the dog out and walked it while the house got shown. So I mean, there's a plethora of times where there's like you said, there's just a lot of stories, but people appreciate just what you've talked about, Jake, the little things, which don't always get done by other people. It's the caring.
It's the caring. Yeah, that's what we talked about.
Genuine caring.
Yeah, you said Sandy didn't have to go walk that dog. No. Like no one else would have done that, right? It's going above and beyond, right?
And it wasn't close either.
Yeah.
Guys, I mean, when you find those quality individuals in your life, whether they be your personal friends, people you hang out with, or more importantly, even your professionals, right? And like you said early on, it was tough, right? When entrusting someone that's a friend to represent you in business, right? But I always say that when you find those individuals that are your friends and you can trust in business, it makes the relationship even that much stronger. You respect that person so much more, right? Like the way Marco conducted himself, man, and handled everything. I mean, I know I was just giving him accolades earlier, but it's the truth, man. It's like, just absolutely top 1% of 1%. Like I couldn't have asked, neither one of my wife or I, we couldn't ask for any difference. Like it was just phenomenal. Yeah. and that resonates in everything that they do. And, not that Marco and I were great friends before that, but I even view him as a better friend because look what he did for my family.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And when you find those people, you stay loyal to those people, and you don't look for these little deals on the side here and there, whatever. And can you get it done cheaper or whatever? You find the person, you stick with that person, and you're going to be well taken care of, and all those stresses and everything. And when they have the right team members in place, right? Because it's a team approach, it makes the process so much smoother.
Very much so.
And you don't have to worry about the stresses and the nuances that you might have to with somebody else. Right?
Yeah.
So,
that's right. Having to learn a whole new agent or business partner.
it's not worth it sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. Save a couple $100. It's not worth it, man. I tell you. So along the way, you guys have dealt with accountants, lawyers, and other professionals. How have they supported or helped you? People that were extensions of what you do, professionals that were extensions of what you do. Tell us a little bit how they were able to help you, and did it help you in your journey along the way? Either of them, whoever wants to start.
Well, we have, through the years, we've created a vendor list of people from attorneys, contractors, landscapers, everybody that we start learning to trust.
Yes.
And that's why we have it on the list. We feel very confident of giving it to clients, knowing that, hey, this is an extension of us because we're sending this over to you. So
Yes.
It's very important. But again, that's for every facet of real estate that we have a vendor list contractor for. And EXP, the broker EXP has attorneys that we can turn to, that we can talk with. I've worked with the company LNY for so many years now, that so many great years that before I wasn't possibly, or maybe I wasn't having the right guidance with taxes or whatever it may be, but accounting situations. But I get with you and I feel more, hey, it doesn't matter. There's you're paying a cost because this is important. You need to take that off your plate, have that service taken care of.
Yep.
And I've done a great job of that for
thank you.
many years.
And we're not experts at it, right?
Right.
That's not my business.
Yeah, you are.
Right.
And to save 200 or try to do it yourself, and all of a sudden you've lost thousands because you didn't know
time
the right thing to do,
Yep.
or say nothing about the time, right? It's just that's what you have those accountants for, is to just to help you out.
Well, and what you guys had said there about everybody that all your vendors and everybody that you do business with. Look, in business, it's just like a house that you're building,
Yes.
right? You've got to build it on a solid foundation. And even your consultants, your advisors, whether it be your accountants or your lawyers, people who do inspections on homes, all your vendors, if you don't have the right team in place, you've not built it on a solid foundation. And the first time a storm comes through, right, any little hiccup along the process, it could blow your business completely down, just like a house, right? So cutting corners, finding the cheaper person to do something. Look, man, while they're an extension of your business, it's almost like a joint ventureship. They absolutely, at least from an indirect standpoint, impact and affect your business.
Yes.
And so you have to eliminate those opportunities to falter in business, and you got to focus on what you do best and get with the right professionals and leave that to them, right? When you're sitting here and you're trying to wear all these different hats, A, you're not efficient. B, you're not an expert in all those fields, like you just said. And C, you're going to spread yourself so damn thin, you're going to burn yourself out in business. In addition, your customer, your clients are going to see that. And for what at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Focus on driving top line revenue in your business. And I would always say outsource those other ancillary products or services to somebody else so you can build that organization. But make sure you choose the right people and the right team from an internal perspective as well as an external perspective.
And again, when you have the right people, you don't have to worry about it, and it helps like you with your client.
Yeah,
because you can concentrate more on that,
and you're more enjoyable, right?
Oh,
to have conversations, right? Like you're like, if you're stressing at the 11 and a half hour on all this small shit, like honestly, you're just like, what are we doing this for? You know? What advice do you have for entrepreneurs that are choosing reliable and knowledgeable professionals? Like, what do you look for when you're looking for those people that are extension? What would you look for?
Reliability,
Reliability?
quality.
Fairness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would tell those people, those entrepreneurs, hey, like I mentioned before, that that's your reputation online as well. So make sure you're referring over
Yeah.
or talking with the right people.
Yeah.
And it's just really not to be taken lightly,
Yeah.
because that can damage your reputation.
Yeah, I would say reliability reviews, like references from other people as well. And I always say history is a good indicator, right? What you've
Yes.
done historical, right? If you've been good for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, chances are that's who you are, who your makeup is. You're going to continue to operate the exact same way.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with someone that's their first year, their second year in any business, it's going to be tough, right? They might be good. Sometimes you can find those all-stars. You can find those little slivers,
Yes.
but it's tough though, right? Having someone with that experience matters.
Yes.
It does. It does. What's one key advice from an accountant, a lawyer, or any person that's from a legal or financial perspective that may have made a huge impact in your business? What advice?
Well, I was audited one time by the
Uh-huh.
IRS,
Uh-huh.
and I sure am glad I had an accountant.
Yeah. They'll try to trap you is what they'll do.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the time and the energy is just not a lot of fun. And so if you're pushing the envelope because you don't know better or whatever, it just wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then you get flagged and everything else.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There was a stretch where I know I knew 6 agents that were getting audited.
Uh-huh.
So, they're.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And from the government's perspective, because I've dealt with a lot of audits before, I can tell you that they don't have a budget.
No.
So if it takes them,
time is nothing.
Time is nothing to them. So they might be coming after $1,500 in what they think is taxes, and they might have spent $20,000 to get that $1,500, right?
But if you have the right accountant, then you don't have to worry about it.
Exactly. How about you, Marco?
It's sometimes you go in, you have questions. I have questions for my accountant. I talk to the company a lot and say, hey, I have a question about this, knowing that I'm trying to push the envelope some ways, like, okay, how can I help myself? But you get your questions answered, knowing that you're about to receive the question or answer that you already knew. You do it to do the right thing.
It's assurance.
It's definitely assurance, and I've gotten that.
And to keep you in the confines of the lines, what you need to be doing, right? Because I always say this, at least from a tax perspective, it's almost like I hate to use this analogy, but if someone goes to jail and then you're sitting in a jail cell, and those people are trying to give you legal advice, and you're like, that's not the people you should be listening to, right? Same thing goes for people on the street. Well, I heard this on TikTok by this guy, and can I do this now? And well, how come you're telling me I can't do this, Jake? Because it's bad advice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to do that. Okay. Well, so-and-so says they're doing, I don't care what so-and-so says you're doing. You're not going to do that, right? Because if you allow your clients to push the envelope in areas that is not beneficial short-term wise as well as long-term wise for them, that big storm comes down like an audit or anything else, it's going to completely cripple them and cripple their business.
Yeah.
And, from our perspective, we look at things and we always go, we don't want to jeopardize a relationship. We don't want to put them in shed any negative light towards them. So I'm not going to ever put them in a compromising situation. That matters. Both of y'all are family men. How has family supported you, and how have they been instrumental in y'all's journey along the way?
My wife, she was an agent. So I'm very fortunate to have somebody who understands, because if you've never been in this industry, you're wondering, like, well, what do you do? It's like, what do you actually do? What do you already? I'm like, no, again, it's that call that I took at 10 a.m. or 10 at night. Yeah. It's the call that may come in early in the morning. If I'm doing emails, if I have to do it in the middle of the night because I can't sleep, I'm a night bird. I was like night owl. I don't sleep. That's why me and my wife get along well, because she likes to sleep, take care of baby, and she's there during the day. But she understands that part of real estate. So it's not that, trust me, that's one part that if she didn't, it's hard to make your partner understand what it is we actually go through day in, day out.
And if there's a concert that they want to go to or whatever, and honey, I'm showing 6 homes, you know, it's okay. So yeah, you have to have a very understanding wife.
Yeah.
My kids are older, so I don't have to. I don't have that issue. But
I'm just running into that issue where she's asking those questions,
Yeah.
like, why do you have to go to work and things like that? It's
Yeah.
like, man, why did you have to start talking?
Yeah,
That's my question.
You get that guilty. And y'all both hit on it, and we talked about it earlier, is having those 5 people and one of them being your significant
Yes,
other,
very
right?
much so.
And also same thing like choosing the right house at home, right? Having the right partner along the journey, right? And your house being your sanctuary when you come home, and having a spouse understanding of what you have to do. Because, I would say as an entrepreneur, we dance to the different beat of a drummer boy. We're not the norm, okay? No. And it's not, hey, we're not trying to cast any judgment or cast any shade towards anything. It's just the reality.
Yes.
And so I always say this, not everybody can be married to an entrepreneur. They can't.
Yeah.
It's not for the weak, you know?
If you have you got that certain time that you have to be here or there, that being your spouse, for example, sometimes it doesn't always work.
Yeah, and because we work these fluctuating hours like this, right? Yeah. There's a lot of inconsistent work that we have to do along the way, and we have to be flexible. I always say it's almost like we're an artist in that sense. Yeah. You know what I mean? We don't have this set pattern. Like if you have to do a showing at 8 a.m. or you have to take a phone call at 10 p.m. at night, 11, and you're working till 12 or 1 to get a deal done. You do what you have to do, right? Where everybody else is asleep, you're still working, and so it's nice to have a significant other, a spouse or whatever, especially as men, that is understanding of what it takes, and they respect us, and we respect them.
Couldn't do it without that.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just as important.
More.
Yeah. Good.
For the reasons you said.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's tough to find those partners because just as, finding a real estate agent or a brokerage like Ray and like Marco, finding a spouse that can take care of us, right? Yeah. As men, as successful entrepreneurs, is even more difficult and harder to find.
Yeah, because we're tired, and so when you can, they can empathize.
Empathize,
yeah, it helps.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you guys are big in faith. What would you say? What role has faith played in y'all's successes and your resilience to be able to overcome as an entrepreneur?
Couldn't do without him.
Yeah,
because it's not me. It's him.
All glory to God.
Yep,
absolutely.
When we have meetings, we pray at every meeting and ask for guidance and to open doors and I wouldn't be anywhere if close to where I am without his guidance and love and support.
Yeah. Marco?
This is a business, again, of uncertainty. We wake up every day uncertain of how things are going to go that day. So it's just that faith that keeps you going. Definitely helps with the pressure, that load. I'm like, hey, you're do the right things. This is what he's asking of you. You'll be fine. Always do the right things.
Yeah.
Even when nobody's looking.
Yeah.
Yes.
I always say, and I'm sure you guys will do this, and you've done this in your career, is when things are not going the way they should be, sometimes you just throw it up to God and say, God, I need your help here.
Way beyond me.
That's
actually every day.
And well, but those specific times though, right? You're spending a little more time with God. What is that song by Jelly Roll or whatever? Where you only talk to God when you want him or something like that. Or when you need him or something like that. And I probably completely butchered that one, so I apologize. But you understand what
the gist.
Yeah. And so there are
he
times,
says it much more eloquent.
He does. And he sounds a lot better than me too. So makes a lot more money too. So. But with that being said, there are times that, you have to be humble and things seem, like that future or the end of that road seem a little blurry sometimes, right? That you don't know how you're going to push through and get there. Everybody's had that in business.
Yeah.
And when we all go through that, right, you throw it up to God and you have your faith and he's going to pull you through. So when things are bigger than, and I'm not trying to get biblical here or anything like that, but I feel very, very strong about my faith.
And
I
a lot
know
of
you
times
guys
that's
do
hard
too.
to do.
Yeah.
Is to not give it to him.
Yeah.
To try and do it yourself.
Yeah. You got to throw it up.
It works a whole lot better when he's in charge.
Yeah. 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 You don't want to put him on the back burner. You don't want to keep him on the forefront. Yeah, absolutely. Earlier we talked about mentorship, and Marco, who's been your mentor both in your personal and in your business life?
Well, we got Ray with business. It's definitely somebody I've been able to take a look at. He's been that person when I was in a boat of hungry agents who weren't experienced, who opened up the door and said, "This is just follow me. Just watch what I do." Because at that time when we did start working together, he already had accumulated a good amount of business for only being in the business for about 4 years at the time.
Yeah.
And so that definitely helped out. My brother is an inspiration. He's always been like a dad in that way. And shoot, even I know it sounds silly, but my neighbors are an inspiration and mentors, because first off, they're like family. You're they're if we need assistance with anything, or watching them do how they conduct themselves with family.
Yeah.
That's just small things like that.
Yeah.
Are what you try to latch on to find out or guide you to do the right things.
Yeah. How about you, Ray?
Yeah, I mean, it's having each other, as we've talked about before, and also before we discussed when getting into the business, I was blessed to be surrounded by the best in the industry. So they were my mentors because they helped me. And, I started out doing open houses a lot, and I could pretty much have my choice of open house. And that kind of has really what got me going. So
I gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. It's, and like you just said, it's those people you choose to be around.
Yeah.
And it might be big items, it might be small items, right? But you appreciate, you respect, and they've been able to give you guys the fortitude to push forward during rough times.
Yeah.
If you could give the listeners, kind of 3 steps to help them on their entrepreneurial journey, what do you think that might be?
Be persistent. Have integrity. Be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And never give up.
Yeah, that's good. That's
Push
good.
Forward.
Perseverance. Yeah. How about you?
I learned it for the longest time in school and again through work, is just have a plan.
Yeah.
You set goals, take risks, and I'll add on to that. You got to be passionate. You got to be passionate about those things. Don't just say it. You got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta look, it might not necessarily, whatever career field you get into, it might not necessarily be your first choice, right? I know for me, it was, I wanted to be a professional baseball player, right?
Yeah.
And injuries and a multitude of other things is the reason I didn't make it in that regard. But, and you might go, well, Jake, you're a tax advisor or you're a business advisor and you do compliance work and representation and CFO work. Man, some of that sounds kind of boring, and it can be for the most part, right? But I think from my perspective, it's helping people, right? It's solving problems as a problem solver, and being a trusted advisor and an individual that your clients know that they can trust and that you will guide them down the right pathway. And just seeing, at least from a financial perspective, the impact that you can have on them and helping them and their families along the way is so rewarding that it goes beyond just being the accountant, the tax advisor, the CFO, right? It is making a difference in their life, right? And I always say, from a Christian perspective, it's making this place a better place from when you arrive, from then when your exit time is, right? How did you make your impact along the way?
Right. And
by helping people along the way, that is so fulfilling, more than any monetary value you can ever place on that.
So agreed.
What type of advice would you give someone that wanted to invest in real estate today in 2025?
Oof. Yeah. During COVID, for instance, there was investors all over the place picking up those $300,000 homes because rental, it was just investors from California, around the country, like cash buying homes. and that was part of those multiple offer situations we were dealing with. But investor coming in 2025, do your homework, make sure that you're understanding the market, and surround yourself with the professionals, investors who can give you sound advice, because that's, as an investor, you can definitely make the wrong move and it'll cripple you pretty quick.
Yeah. Right.
Well, kind of the things we've talked about, just ask for help.
Yeah.
Just ask for help, so you don't waste a lot of time and money. And you've got to, it's very slow right now because interest rates are high. So it's not easy. We're probably 30% of normal listings. And of course, buyers have disappeared because of interest rates, and coincidentally, they just went up again today. So you ask, and don't be afraid to do open houses, to take the people that you know and to socialize, and to let them know that you are in the business, and to reassure them. To me, it would be, at this point, if you're starting out on your own, it's very, very difficult.
Yeah. So
I would suggest that you pick a team that you feel comfortable with, and let them mentor you. And then 5, 7, 10, or maybe never, if you want to go try it on your own, do it. But get a team to start with. Otherwise, your chances of success are slim and none, and slim left town.
And guys, this is the team. This is the team you want to do it with if you want to enter into that market, because everything we've talked about in this podcast today is very symbolic in the nature of, like Ray alluded to, no backstabbers, individuals with integrity, with character. Those are the people that you want to assimilate with, right? I'm not necessarily propping them up, or, like I said earlier, putting them in the spotlight, right? Because I have a financial interest. I'm doing this because I know the integrity of these individuals. I know that the care that they place upon all of their clientele. And so if you want to assimilate with the right people, you want to grow, you want to learn, you can't find any two better mentors than these two individuals today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. For someone building a business, what do you think is more important, persistence or adaptability? So
industries and technology there's constant change, and in real estate, there is technology that we always have to keep up with. In adapting, for me, adapting
is more important.
It's survival.
Right?
I would say persistence of being adaptable.
I like that.
That's the truth.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a right answer or a wrong answer on either one of these, to be honest with you, because I'm thinking about, from my perspective, I know I'm asking the questions, but I'm thinking, you know what? I think you got to have both. I don't mean to sound greedy, but you've got to be, like we talked about, you got to be chameleon-like, right?
Cognizant.
You've got to be able to adapt and adjust along the way. And you've got to go full throttle, right? You got to be obsessed. You've got to be persistent. You got to be pushed through. And failure is not an option. You can't take no.
And things are changing so fast because of technology in our world. You have to be, just kind of what I said, you have to be persistent to be able to adapt.
It's coming fast with AI out there now.
Yeah.
And the first thing I was telling a friend the other day, he was asking me like what my thoughts were on AI. And I said, I'm on it every day. And he goes, really? Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I just now found out about ChatGPT the other day. And I said, you better get your ass on ChatGPT and every other AI platform that you can as quickly as possible, and learn as much. And while the things that you're doing today won't necessarily be the things you're doing tomorrow or a year or 2 years down the road, but it's an iteration process, right? And if you don't get your feet wet today, I'm telling you, you are going to be passed right on up. Like it's when the internet came on board. Now this is coming at such a faster and rapid rate.
Much more.
It's like the internet on steroids. I mean, I saw a post the other day on a website that I follow on Twitter. I guess it's X now. It's called Unusual Wells. And they post a lot of financial information on there. And basically, NVIDIA now has came out with a computer, or is coming out with a computer this year, that operates 1,000 times faster on its processor than your normal laptop, and it's only for $3,000.
Yeah.
Think about that for a second. Like the you're typing something up or you're trying to get a task to go, and the processor in it operates 1,000 times faster than today's computers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's scary,
Yes.
like how fast it's going to be. And they're talking about these supercomputers and things that are out there now. And I think Google produced one the other day that they said that there was this, I forget what it was. It was like 1 trillion years in the future to crack this math problem. It cracked it like in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh,
You
wow.
know what I'm talking
Yes,
about?
yes.
And my time frame might be a little bit off there, guys, but I'm just trying to show the levity and what we're dealing with, right? And how fast technology is coming. So like Marco said, and Ray said as well, you better be adaptive. You better be ready to embrace this technology, because how we operate today, like you said, the way we operate today is different than you did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And the next 20 years, it's going to be vastly different than even today.
And you've got to beware in the same vein, because just yesterday I had a voice text come to me from somebody that I know.
Uh-huh.
And I listened to it, and it was on a subject that we had been discussing, but it was kind of a little bit out of context.
Okay.
And it was his voice. It didn't come through on my phone, but I was texting him about something else, and it popped up as I pulled him up, and I listened to it. And so I answered him, and he goes, "Ray, what are you talking about?" I said, "Well, you just sent me this voice text about this." And he goes, "Ray," he said, "I haven't been drinking. I didn't send you anything." And I said, I played it back to him.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, "That's my voice." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Ray, I swear to you, I did not send that."
That's scary.
So you have to be aware of stuff like that too. And that's, unfortunately, that's part of this.
Yep. Yep. And you'll get those phishing emails where they'll pretend to be somebody else. And I need you to send over the bank account, and you guys doing financial transactions all the time with real estate, right?
Mhm.
And that's scary, because what if you respond with that information and now you've given that individual access to that client's bank account to make that deposit or whatever?
Well, and that's something, again, what comes with many years of experience. You know how to, what's legit and what's not legit.
I promise you, while we've been sitting here, I've got 2 of them on my phone, not, with the bank, but some spam of some kind.
Yeah.
Trying to say, would you help me find a home? Blah, blah, blah.
Marco, what's next for you? Any big goals or projects on the horizon that you're looking at?
At the moment, just trying to adapt to the current market. I call it post-COVID, because post-COVID was where those interest rates were really starting to go up. Like those low interest rates that we had before, high 2s, low 3s, just don't see it happening anytime soon. And part of me hopes it doesn't, because I don't know if that's overall was good for the market. But looking to grow with getting back to a fair rate. 4 or 5%, even 6s is fine, but just continue to expand the portfolio. Look for other investment rental properties for myself to invest in.
Right.
I think it's just for me, it's just status quo. Continue to do a spectacular job for our client. Be well advised on what's going on, to be able to give them good advice. I have a little bit more gray hair than he does, and someday I want him to be able to take this over and have fun with it, and let him expand it or whatever he wants to do. And
I like that. Legacy, it matters.
Legacy, that's a good
yes. What type of legacy do you hope to leave, Ray?
Well, that it was always honest, that we did a good job. I think that we do probably a better and with more integrity than a majority of agents.
I would agree.
And that I shouldn't probably say that, but I truly feel that. And that we we continue to I think just that, just be honest and to know that you really helped a lot of people, and that their lives, as you've explained,
Yep.
are just a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Because of things that we did right.
Yeah. Marco?
I just want to be on the right side of our clients' trust. That's very important to me. It's helping me sleep at night. But I hope people see our ethics and our honesty, and that we try our best never to falter on those things. So we've always been straight with clients. We've always tried to keep it as honest, even if it's brutal, as possible, because otherwise we don't want to have to deal with walk through or deal with going through the cleanup of something where we try to squeeze through something that wasn't honest. And again, it just, in the long run, I think it's just more beneficial that you're honest with them and yourself.
Yeah, we haven't had to get an attorney involved yet, so we hope we never do.
Oh,
No.
not close. To pivot off of that, how do you want to be remembered as an entrepreneur, as a leader, and as a family man?
Honest, that I try to exceed those the expectations of each of those things. It's like you know what is the right thing to do, or what is satisfying to your family, to your clients. Let's move it a step forward. Let's just give them something a little extra to remember, or to say, you know what, this is how I remember Marco. This is what he did, and he tried to do his best.
Yeah, and that we always do, as you said, they always do the best. We're always straightforward, honest. And we negotiated for both our buyers and sellers honestly, and I again, better than a lot because of the experience that we have. I think that's very important.
Yeah. A piece of advice would you like to ask the listeners to apply to in their everyday lives?
Well, so with 46 years of life experience behind me, I can tell you those difficult moments. There's a lot of difficult moments, too many to remember. And I'm not just talking about real estate, even before real estate, teenage years, young adult years, through the first marriage, that you're going to have those moments where you're like, this is it. It's like this. How am I getting past that? You will get past it. You will get through the challenge. You just have to have faith in it and realize it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, and don't try to do things on your own all the time. Ask your people that you trust, and ask your mentors. Continue to go to Jesus and ask for His guidance. And again, I think we can't do what we do without His help.
Yeah, I would agree. I love both of y'all's responses. Like, you, just to hit on a little bit more, is this too will pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all go through things, and we all go through challenges in life, It's how we respond after those times is what really matters, and how we're viewed, right, in God's eyes.
Yeah.
Because we can either go down path A, could be the right way, or path B might not be so much the right way, right? And it's making those right life decisions that truly identify or create the legacy that we want us to live, you know? And so I always, like you said, Ray, I always try to put God first in everything that I do. And I always ask myself, well, especially today, is if, I'm going through a hard time or whatever that situation is, would my family be happy with the man that they see today? Would they be happy with the decision I'm about to make? Would God be happy with what I'm about to see, what He's about to see, and what I'm about to do? And if I can't answer, a resounding yes to those questions, and it is not immediate, probably shouldn't be doing it.
And in today's world, with everything that we're hit with, it's easy to get on that slippery slope before you know it.
Yeah.
Because we're bombarded all the time with things that maybe we shouldn't be considering.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you're going through that rough patch, you'll get through it as well.
Yep.
Just find the right people. Don't be fearful to ask for help. and it seems a little overburdened at the time, hand it up to God. Know that God will see you through it.
Yep.
Okay. What's one thing that might surprise listeners about the realities of being in the real estate business?
Well, so Ray hit on it a bit ago about Exxon. Some of his Exxon clients haven't bought quite a few homes, and there are a lot of agents out there. But even me, sometimes I'm like, okay, with that many agents, there's only a limited number of houses. But it's a surprising fact that the average American moves 12 times in their lifetime. It's the average American.
Mm-hmm.
So you add that up and there's turnaround. The opportunities there. The business can be there.
Yeah.
You just got to you expose yourself and do the right thing.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get rich quick.
Nope.
And you're going to have to spend a ton and a half of hours. And if you're prepared to do that, it's very rewarding.
It is.
It's extremely rewarding.
Yeah. Success doesn't happen overnight, guys.
No.
I know that's what people think. As we talked about before, a lot of people, they have this fallacy that if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you never work. And there's nothing even true to that extent, right? Oftentimes you're wearing the hat of many different professions along the way. If you want it bad enough and you want to work hard and you want to do great things, find the right people, find the right mentors, associate with the right people, choose the right spouse.
Yes.
All of those things matter. Keep faith first in all that you do.
Yes.
And I tell you what, if you're persistent, if you're able to pivot and be chameleon-like and be able to adjust as needed, you will be successful.
You will be.
We all have, I would say we all have these moments where we learn faster than some people learn faster than other people. And sometimes I have to tell you 3 times, and Marco, you might tell her, I'm gonna pick on you now. I might have to tell you 10 times, right? On that subject matter, but yeah, right. but then the next subject matter, he might pick up on it 3 times and it might take you 10 times, right? So just know and don't get discouraged, right? I always say, you've got that obstacle, that thing you're trying to push through. Sometimes you got to hit it a little bit harder. You might have to go over it, underneath it, or around it, but there's always a way to get through it at some point. Okay. And don't try to reinvent the wheel. The copycat method does work. There's someone else, more than likely what you're experiencing. I promise you, you're not the only person to go through this.
For sure.
Okay. And don't be scared to lean on other professionals as soon as the right ones. I know Ray, and if you were to go to Ray and you were to say, hey, Ray, can you give me some advice on this? He doesn't view you as a competitor. If someone is another accountant in the industry wants to come to me and, well, Jake, how did you do this? How did you do that? I'll be happy to share with them information. And it's not arrogance. It's not that we think lesser of you. We love to share information. We love to help people. Like I said earlier, and I know you guys feel the same way. It's not always about money. We live on an economic planet. Sure. We have to make money, but it's just so rewarding to know that you've made a difference and helped and guided somebody's life,
Yeah.
That aha moment, right? That time when you've been able to break through in your career. What might you be able to share or with somebody that might help them if they want to take that first big step?
I'll let you get that one first.
I believe I would answer that saying that when you see the smiles and the satisfaction at a closing, for us at a closing, and everybody's happy and everybody's excited, they can't wait to get into their new home, or they're so happy that you sold their home at X price and they can move on to the next chapter. Mm-hmm. That's a kind of an aha.
That's a pretty cool. Feeling. That's a pretty cool feeling.
It's a very cool feeling. Yeah.
How about you, Marco?
Yeah, when you first start getting your feet wet in the industry, you're one of the biggest things I think we haven't talked about is the challenge of being overwhelmed by your clients and their stature, their status in society. It could be when I first started out selling $1 million home, multi-million-dollar home. Those are scary because it's already scary enough to getting your first deal.
You almost kind of feel like you don't feel like you're worthy of that type
It's
of
very,
deal at
it's
first.
very nice. You're thinking to yourself, hey,
Yeah.
these people think differently than I do.
Yeah.
How am I going to even be able to be on their level
Yeah.
for them to trust me to help them buy or sell their multi-million-dollar
Yeah.
home? And when you actually do, you realize they're just people.
Yeah, of course.
Again, if you're lucky enough to get a multi-million-dollar home at the very beginning, God help you. That's great. But I'm glad through the time that I've experienced with my clients who I'm growing with. I grow with them. I help them buy. For instance, I've had many clients that I helped them buy their first $150,000, $200,000 home when those existed back when I started. They're selling that one, buying the 400, buying the 700, and then the million. You're growing with them so that you start realizing, hey, that one I meet you and you need $1 million home. Okay, I understand where you're coming from. Let's get started.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not as overwhelming. It's more confidence that I didn't know I had at that aha moment. It's like, wow, they're just people.
Yeah, and guys, that comes with experience. You know,
Yes, definitely.
It just doesn't happen overnight. So when you're getting nervous, you don't know how to act in front of a certain client, or if you feel worthy or not. Those same feelings are felt by everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And so it'll pass. That too will pass, and you'll feel a little more comfortable in your skin. And a lot of that just comes with experience, maturity, and understanding your craft more. Right. And so confidence. Yeah. So those are great answers on that. And so we've kind of come to the end of our podcast today. I want to thank both of y'all. It has been an absolute honor to have y'all on the podcast today.
It's our honor.
So thank y'all
you.
very
Thanks for having
much.
us, Jake. Yes,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Absolutely.
Really had fun.
And I hope that every one of our listeners out there will take exactly what Ray Larson and Marco Brito said today and try to apply this in their business life as well as their personal life. Understand that, we're all here to do good in society. We're all here to do good under God, and find the right people. And if you want to get into real estate, these are the gentlemen I would absolutely, you have 100% of my blessing and reassurance that they would guide you down the right pathway. Ask the right people. Don't go at this alone. It can be a scary journey. And just understand what you're feeling. They have felt it before. You feel it. Everyone feels it. It's what's to be expected. There are people out there that will help you. So hopefully this has been educational. This has been somewhat comical. I know it's been enjoyable for us as well.
Fun.
And I just want to thank everybody for listening today, and God bless. Thank y'all.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank you, Marco.
Yeah.
Have a great day.